Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Produce Buzzers podcast. We are so happy you have joined us today, and I think you will be too after the show is over, because you will learn a lot about fresh fruits and vegetables, how to select and store them, how to prepare and cook them, and surprising facts about their history and origin. We hope it inspires you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, not only for your health, but also for your delight and pleasure as you explore their amazing world of taste and delicious flavors. Eating more of them will transform your life in so many positive ways. So settle back, relax, and get ready for another delicious adventure with the Produce Buzzers. Greetings, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, and welcome to another nutritious episode of the Produce Buzzers podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Stepp, executive editor of Produce Buzz, and I'm joined today by Rick Stepp, contributing editor to Produce Buzz. We are sad to say that Teresa Nolan, our fearless leader and founder of Produce Buzz, can't join us today because of another commitment. And that is also true for our honorary sibling and great friend, Cynthia Benedetto, who also has another commitment today. So we will miss their bright voices and entertaining comments, but the show must go on, and Rick and I will do our best to make that happen. Well, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, you were so responsive to our last episode featuring Robert Schueller of Melissa's World Variety Produce that we decided to bring him back this week for an encore presentation. Robert is eager to share with you all the information about some of summertime's most delicious fruits. These fruits are in peak season now in August. That means that not only are they at their most flavorful, but also because the volume of production is peaking, that means they are a great value. You should be looking for specials at your local grocery stores and markets for these. Fresh fruits and vegetables are a bit of a paradox in that they are probably the only thing on the market that is usually least expensive when it is the best quality. That is because the peak volume and supply usually coincides with the peak quality of the season. Another reason why we love fresh fruits and veggies. What other product can you get that delivers in that way? So let's not waste any more time. Let's bring Robert on and let him tell you about some of the best of these during these summer months. Robert, thank you so much for joining us again on the podcast. So happy to have you back.
Oh, thank you for having me on Produce Buzz there. Always happy to talk up the exciting world of produce in America.
Tell us now, which fruits are you going to talk to us about today? Which ones are best quality, best value right now here in this summer, middle of summer?
When you think summer crops, you think really three things: variety grapes, variety melons, and variety tree fruit.
And by variety, you mean special varieties, not your normal cantaloupe and the melon or your Thompson seedless. Is that what you mean?
I'm speaking beyond just the regular commodities, but even the commodities are tasting and pricing the best.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They have to be so competitive in the marketplace because, during the off season, you always have honeydew and cantaloupe and probably watermelon. Right. But in the winter season, they're just tasting so-so. Right. Now, because of the season, the variety season started in May and goes through September, we're talking about 15 different varieties of melons that are available to us that are tasting good, that are good priced. I'm talking about like Casaba, Crenshaw, Gallia. We do a new variety called Schueller. The Schueller is a small melon. It's the smallest. It's about the size of a tennis ball.
Wow.
So it's a single serving size. It has the color, it has the exterior of what looks like a cantaloupe, with the netting. Mm-hmm. And then when you cut it open, it looks as green as a honeydew. The flavor is somewhere between a really sweet variety like a Gallia, if you're familiar with those dessert varieties, Gallia melons, and a honeydew melon, but it's a single serving size. When you buy a honeydew, you're making a commitment because the honeydews right now is like for a family of four, unless you like having melon for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because once you cut a melon open, one of the things I like about melon, I think most people do, is the texture. You don't like it to go super soft,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So you only have about 3 days in the refrigerator once you cut it to eat it all. But
Yep.
you see these different melons, like the Schueller melon. It's a personal size one. It's perfect for one person.
Oh,
Another
wow.
variety, and this is the best variety I've ever tasted. And the cool thing is, as of last year, it became available year round. This variety is called the Schueller melon. The Schueller
Sharing.
melon, yes, the
Can you spell
Schueller
that? Spell that for
C
me?
A Charentais. It is
Okay.
also referred to as the French melon. If you ever been to
Ah,
France or Europe,
yes.
it's the small melon. It's kind of whitish on the outside with green striations. Kind of looks
Yeah.
like a basketball. It's smaller in size, about the size of a softball. Again, this personal size, it's not as small as the Solera, but it's perfect for two people. Cut it in half, scoop it out. It is the sweetest melon you'll ever taste. It looks like cantaloupe on the inside, but it's actually super sweet. The Brix is high on a refractometer, which measures the sweet level,
Yeah.
the sugar content and sweetness level on there. It's one of our tools of the trade. A
Right.
refractometer, it's called.
Let me interrupt, Robert, to explain to our listeners about the refractometer you're talking about and Brix. When light enters a liquid at an angle, it changes direction, and that's called refraction. And light will refract more when traveling through a liquid with dissolved or suspended solids like sugar. Therefore, refraction can be used to measure the concentration of dissolved or suspended solids or sugar, like in our case, sugars within the liquid, the juice of that fruit. And a refractometer is the instrument used to measure that or to see that. The amount of sugar in that juice that is being looked at in the refractometer is measured by a term called Brix, and that's the sugar content of the juice. And it's basically a percentage of whatever the volume is. So 1 degree Brix is 1 gram of sucrose in 100 grams of a solution. So 1% sugar of the 100 grams of juice that you're measuring. And of course, it represents the strength, the sweetness of that fruit. So when Robert references Brix level, you're basically talking about a percentage. So if it's at a 20, it means 20 Brix. That means it's 20% sugar in the juice of that fruit. And that's the first time I've really explained that to our listeners, even though we've referenced Brix here on our podcast quite often. So I wanted to take the time to do that since you were bringing it up.
Yes, the Charentais melon. And it tastes consistently sweet throughout the year. So come wintertime, you're going to be able to see the Charentais melons right next to the honeydews and the cantaloupe on a year-round basis, and they are
Fantastic.
a treat.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've never tasted one, but I've seen them when I went to France. In fact, that's where I saw them, but never ate them. What is the Brix level on those? What's the range on it?
Well, let's gauge it because I'm gonna give you a number. It's not gonna make sense.
Yeah,
So a typical a typical honeydew and a cantaloupe, on the average, they Brix at about 12 to 14. That's kind of
right.
mild. But during the peak of the season months, May through September, they Brix at about 18 or 19.
That's
Really
pretty
sweet.
high. Yeah.
The Charentais, they Brix at a 22 to 24.
Wow.
That Brix is as one of the
That's
sweetest fruit. I don't
yeah,
know a fruit that has ever Brixed over a 26, and
yeah.
that's pretty
Right,
high. If you get above it, you rarely hear of any fruit Brixing over a 26. And
right.
those Charentais are like 22 right now.
That is amazing. And do they ripen after they're picked, or are they? And would they
They're
get
usually,
sweeter?
well, they do get sweeter as they sit. The key on a melon, and this goes for any melon that you buy at a store, at a farmer's market, you always want to store your melon on the counter.
Okay.
That usually they pick them a little early because the logistics of being distributed throughout the United States.
Right.
So, and they have a really thick skin, so they have a good shelf life. But how do you know when you have a good melon? One, there's an aroma. Okay, when it sits on your counter, you start smelling melon. If you don't smell melon,
It's probably not right.
totally
Ready.
unripe.
Yeah.
Next thing is some of the melons give a little bit. You can almost squeeze and just feel that they don't feel like a rock.
Yeah.
That's another way. It's a little bit more difficult, but one of the keys is that the stem easily removes or is already removed. Typically, you want a melon that doesn't have a stem hanging
Oh,
off it. It was picked too early. A melon should just pull right off the stem,
got
and
it.
that would tell you that it's sweetened up enough
Yeah.
before it's ready to go. I know a lot of people like to bang on them, but I'm really not sure what they're doing. Melons that are heavy for size is another good thing because
Yeah.
melons have a really good shelf life. They may store like 2 or 3 months, but they do dehydrate. So if you're picking up melons at your local produce department, and they're kind of usually about the same size, if one feels a little heavier than the other, pick the heavier one. It
Interesting.
hasn't been in storage as long.
Yeah. Yeah. We had one of the marketing people for the National Watermelon Board on a recent episode. And we were laughing about all the ways people, all the methods that people in the wives' tale that the people have about picking watermelons. So we had a lot of good stories there, but that's good advice. Thank you for sharing that about the melons, because I think that's something that, I know a lot of people who have gone off buying melons because they just, they picked one bad one and they thought, I'm not going to buy another one, which is sad.
Edwin, do you remember the definition of a full slip on a cantaloupe? Do you remember that?
Oh, no, I don't. Full slip.
Yeah.
I think I may know what you're talking about, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. Down in the Southeast, the farmers used to tell us when you pick the cantaloupe, if it's a complete circle, where the stem came loose completely, that's a full slip. Sometimes it has a half slip, which means it was not mature enough. Sometimes it's the stem sticking out, like you mentioned. And so that was one of the signs of maturity. But I did find that it wasn't necessarily a sign of how good they would taste. It was just that they were mature when they were picked.
Yeah. Well, usually in the growing industry, they brix a sample, because they do plantings at about the same time and it's measured. So that's usually the indicator. They have to brix at a certain level before they can actually be picked commercially. That's just so growers don't pick them too early that they taste like a cantaloupe, that they taste like a cucumber instead of a cantaloupe, a melon.
Yeah, so, I've had a few of those, especially the honeydews. I bought a few that tasted more like a cucumber. But yeah, well, and with the watermelon board, Sheila Carden is her name. I don't know if you know her or met her, but she's one of their marketing people. In the end, we all agreed that the only way to know if a watermelon is good is to cut it open. So, there are some things to look for, but
that is definitely, and this is the peak of the season for the watermelons. Not only have you red, but we're a company that sells the yellow and the orange variety. Again, they have a really good heavy storage. You'll find them in bins. They don't have to be refrigerated. The only time you would refrigerate a melon, whether it's a watermelon or cantaloupe or honeydew, is when you want it cold or when you cut it open. Then you obviously have to refrigerate it, but never leave your melons in the refrigerator before they're ripe. Always let them on the counter, and the aroma will tell you when it's ripe.
Good advice.
That's the key thing.
Even for a watermelon, you shouldn't refrigerate it.
You shouldn't unless you wanted it chilled.
Yeah.
Some people like to pop a hole in it, drop a tequila bottle in the hole. There's many different things that people like to do with watermelon. I like mine cut and chilled, or I'll chill it the night before I'm ready to cut it. But obviously, I don't even attempt to put it in the refrigerator until I smell the aroma.
Right. I do like my watermelon pretty cold. The colder, the better. But they do say that most times any fruit or vegetable, or I think any food generally too, the colder it is, the more the flavor is suppressed. But I do like my melons cold, even if it's for suppressing the flavor of it. Seems to taste better. So you sell the watermelons as well.
We do. Well, we're more known for the yellow and the orange there. Obviously,
more specialty varieties.
The more special and the smaller varieties. We do all the melons small as well. They call them personal size or mini. They're about the size of a cantaloupe, and so it's good for like 3 people or so and whatnot. Because when you buy a big watermelon, even though price per pound is really good at this time,
Yeah.
It's hard if you're a family of one or two to bring home a 10-pounder. If you're
Right.
having a party and you have friends and family over, it's warranted. But it's hard to eat 10 pounds of watermelon within 3 days.
Right.
I've tried it. You're gonna have to make a lot of water. You're not gonna drink water. You're only gonna take the watermelon, put the pulp in the blender, and make a instant watermelon water, which has become very trendy and popular.
Yeah,
So
and it's
people
delicious.
don't do food waste. And of course, you could take the peel and pickle it as well. So again, way to not waste it there. So yeah, the watermelon this is the best time of the year. I think the peak of the season is yes, I know the peak of the season is July through September, especially Labor Day. Labor Day is like one of the last big hurrahs. Even though watermelon's available on the year round, you get your best price, you get your best tasting from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Well, usually a little bit past September, past a little Labor Day there.
Yeah.
But look for all three colors. See, the red and the yellow are the natural colors for watermelon. And I said there's an orange one. Well, basically you cross hybridize, which is non-GMO, a red and a yellow. Naturally, you take those two colors, it turns orange. And so that's why there's three different varieties of watermelons in the marketplace. But by a long shot, red is 95% of the market. So most often than not, when you go to the store, you're only going to find red. But you'll be surprised. You're going to start seeing yellow creep up and be found more during Memorial Day to Labor Day throughout the year.
Yep, I've seen them and I don't think I've had an orange one, but I've had the yellows many times. Does the flavor profile change much between those colors?
Yeah, and a lot of people think that one melon, if like a cantaloupe and honeydew, they taste the same. They don't, and they're and all these other melons that I'm talking about. There's about a dozen or so, and all different shapes and sizes. They all taste different. If they taste exactly the same, there would be no need to have all these different varieties. Right. So let's break it down. The red watermelon usually is typically your sweetest and juiciest. Okay. The yellow watermelon, it may be a little bit more mild, but it has this like honey flavor that's going on. Maybe it's kind of a mellow, but it is sweet and it's super refreshing. But I get this tone of like honey in it. And then when you take the orange, you get the best of both. Super sweet, very refreshing, and this honey undertone that's going on there. So yeah, cool. Pick your pleasure. Right. And if a great skewer on a stick of different colors, you for the kids, you cut a watermelon into squares, into blocks, put them on a skewer, and give it to a kid. And instead of giving them a popsicle or a fudgicle or something on a candy on a stick, give them fruit. Melons are the most delicious on a stick. Excellent idea. Rick, you got a question?
Yes. What are your top three melons? Your top three favorite melons?
Charente, the Solara, and we do a newer melon that we brought into the marketplace from Japan. It is called the crown melon. It is the rarest fruit in the United States. Some stores across the country carry them. Believe it or not, they cost $130 each. Ooh.
One.
There's a symbolism around it. If you're from Japan, you know what a crown melon is. It is a melon where, if you've never seen a melon vine grow, several melons grow on a vine. Well, this one is hothouse grown, and it's depleted of all the other melons that grow on the vine. Only one is taken care of. Oh, and when it's brought to full maturity, it will come attached with the stem on purposely, because there's symbolism in Japan about this particular melon with the stem on. It's in a box, and it is one of the most elegant flavored tasting melons, but it takes a certain market for a person to buy, and we're actually selling them in the United States. The season started back in, we started carrying them in May, and we're going to see how it goes, but we sell about 200 a week right now of these crown melons. If you go to melissas.com, you'll find out all about it. We are that company that offers new exciting varieties that are brought, whether they're grown domestically or halfway around the world. And, this is a similar case to when we first introduced the pink pineapple several years ago. They were selling for $50 each.
Yeah.
So because it was the most rare fruit, but no longer is the rare fruit, but it is harder to find. And they still sell about $25, $30. We sell them on our website for $30 for the pink pineapple. Again, new and unique and can be the life of the party if you give it a try.
Right.
But definitely delicious. I did happen to try one of these crown melons, and it was an experience. It definitely had a great flavor profile, and definitely one of my 3 favorite melons of the 20 different varieties that are available in the marketplace.
The Japanese are certainly connoisseurs of fruits and vegetables, and they go way out of the way to find some of the most exotic, unusual, and best tasting fruits and veggies. And these melons sound like they're not. I know they'll pay an exorbitant prices for them as well to have them. I know there's a watermelon that they grow specially over there that really demands some high prices. What do you know about those?
But I think the one you're hearing about, and we're going to start offering it pretty soon, is the icebox watermelon.
Oh.
It is a watermelon that they grow in a square container. It grows perfectly square. It's seedless. There's no flaw to it. It cuts a perfect square, and the flavor, but there is symbolism around this.
I've seen those square melons before. Pictures, I've not seen them live and up close, but only pictures of them, and they look
We're
amazing.
selling them for $500 each.
Wow! And how big are they? How many pounds are they?
They're not a regular watermelon size. They're about 10 pounds.
Okay.
It looks like the perfect present.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, we have not been able to sell them to consumers. We sell not only to retailers across the country in the United States, but we also sell to food service.
Oh.
All of our Vegas restaurants in Las Vegas bought our first load of 100 of them at $500 a pop. They needed to put it on their fruit display. And some elegant ways in which you can work with these square watermelons. I think it's a lot of more but it's difficult to want to buy a $500 watermelon unless you know the symbolism behind it.
That's out of my budget, I could tell you that.
Are those grown in a box?
They're grown in a plastic square box, yes. There's a particular mold. They do this with some other fruits, like some pears, which grow into a mold that is like Buddha.
Yeah.
Buddha pears. And so in Japan, they've done agriculture. They don't have a lot of space, and they're very keen on their produce there, and they are very efficient and very decorative for those that they cater to throughout that whole country. And very few come to light here. In fact, bringing about Japan, some of our best produce that's grown in California especially doesn't even get to see daylight here in the United States because they get shipped some of the best quality and best looking produce. I'm talking about like strawberries the size of apples. They all go, basically, they get exported to Japan because Japan will pay for them to have them.
Right. I used to sell citrus for Ocean Spray. I was based in Vero Beach. And the Japanese at that time were coming and paying exorbitant prices for the biggest grapefruit. The biggest grapefruit in the States was not considered the best quality, or at least the retailers didn't want them. And they were getting these, I think they were 27 size, which means they were 27 grapefruit to a big, what was it, a 40-pound box, I think. So they were huge, but they were paying 3-4 times the price of an average size grapefruit at that time. And they were selling in Japan off the grocery store shelves for $30 a piece. So it's sort of like your pink pineapple, I guess, but they wanted that huge grapefruit.
They were also buying up all the white grapefruit.
That's true. Most of it was white grapefruit that we sold them. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, but here in the United States, the most popular, everyday variety is the pink flesh or the red ruby, which is the pink flesh. The only time we see white grapefruit now, because they don't have seeds in them. America does not like their seeds. Are the large pomelos?
Right.
No, I'm sorry, not the pomelos. The pomelos are pink. It's the oro blancos. They're the cousin to the oro blancos. The
white
oro
gold
blancos are the cousin. Yes, and they're large, but they cut. The white grapefruit kind. And there's also the cocktail grapefruit, but they're a seeded variety, super sweet. That's one of the few other ones that come into season during the winter months. But year round here, it's just the pink grapefruit.
Do you sell Oro Blanco on?
Yes, we do.
Because my neighbor, my neighbor in Pasadena had a tree in his backyard, and those were the sweetest grapefruit I've ever eaten. Now there probably are some sweeter ones, but they blew away the pink or red grapefruit in my mind. So I can get those. I can order those from you. What's the season? Is probably the winter, right?
Yeah. The season will start up in October, and typically it will end by January 1st.
But the later in the season, probably the sweeter they are, right?
Yes, as you get towards November, they get pretty sweet.
Yeah. If you don't mind the seeds, some of his had a lot of seeds. Others,
we do seedless.
Oh, you have a seedless one.
All the except the cocktail is the only one they haven't been able to hybridize to make seedless yet. Right. All our grapefruit demanded in the United States, 99% is seedless.
Yeah. You know what you need to develop? I'm going to assign you something, Robert. We need a seedless mango.
We're working on that.
Yeah, I love mango, but man, it's such a chore. Actually, there is a mango called a sugar mango, which comes from Colombia, and apparently you can eat the skin. And I think there may be a pit in it, but it's not. It's like, and they're only about the size of maybe a golf ball or ping pong ball.
Oh, they sound really small.
I've never tried them, but I
haven't heard about those. I know they're not allowed into the United States, but there's over 100 different varieties of mangoes alone. Here in the United States, we commercially grow and import about 8 different varieties.
Okay, yeah, those are the primary ones, I think. Yeah. Google sugar mangoes, see what you can learn there.
Thank you.
Let's try to get them in the States because I want to try one. It's just they come from a very small growing region off the coast of, or I think on an island and maybe on the coast of Colombia, South America.
Yeah, the only thing we get from Colombia are golden berries, which are also called big gooseberries,
right,
and of course coffee. But the rest of the fruits and vegetables have been not admissible into the United States.
Okay, golden berries are great; those are delicious.
Very different. They're in the same family as the tomatillo.
Oh,
they're a little bit more tart and sweet.
I didn't know that, but that makes sense because they've got that shell or not shell, the outer
husk.
Yeah, husk. That was the word I was
Yeah.
That makes sense.
They're yellow, not green.
Right, and they're much smaller than most tomatillos, so that's good.
You want to talk about grapes now?
Absolutely. Let's go. As long as you want to go, I'm ready.
Well, it is the peak of the season for grape season. Not only is it domestic season where California is the main grower of not only table grapes, which is what the grapes you find in your store, but also wine grapes as well. However, let's talk about table grapes. There's so many different varieties now from June until October that come out of California that are just so delicious. They break so high on a refractometer. Even your common grapes, your red flames and your greens, which are called Thompson seedless, are priced very competitively in the marketplace. But there are some varieties that kind of outshine some of the more common varieties. And I want to talk to you about some of these spectacular varieties coming out of the Central Valley from Grapevine, Bakersfield, Delano to Fresno. One of the ones that's really unique is called the Champagne grape. This is a dark, small grape. The grape is almost like a currant. It's very small, and like a grape is like a quarter size. These ones are like a fourth the size of a dime. So they're really small.
Yeah.
but they're super sweet. No, these are not the grapes they actually make champagne with, though they look like them. That's just the marketing name that they gave for them. But what's so unique about them is kids love them because they're small, but because the way in which you eat them, obviously when you wash off grapes, you put the little cluster. They come in little clusters. It looks like mini fruit, like fruit of like Smurfs or Smurfs. And so what you do is you hold up a little bunch, like you're feeding your wife or your spouse grapes, but you put the bunch of grapes in your mouth, pull out the stem, and in your mouth, all the little bubbles are like the size of almost like citrus disperse in your mouth. And that's how you eat champagne grapes.
Great.
So it's just so elegant, draped on a wine glass, or if you put it on a fruit plate, it is super, super sweet and very unique of any other variety.
It sounds like a lot of fun. The kids would enjoy that. I would enjoy that. Of course, I'm a big kid. But I just got to say, Robert, your wife is one lucky person that you sit there and feed her grapes like that. Do you peel them? Do you peel them too?
No, never peel grapes. And
you know that song, right?
Of course, too.
It's an old song, "Peel Me a Grape."
Okay. Back from the past there.
Yeah.
Also, another variety not to overlook during this season, and the thing is these champagne grapes and this newer variety called jelly drop grapes. They're only available July, August, and maybe early September. So you have to act fast on these because they're within the season of the full California season. Now these they're a cross between a Concord grape, but for those who know Concord grapes, that they grow wild in your backyard, they make jelly with them. They have a really thick skin that's not edible. And then on a Concord grape, there's like 3 seeds on the inside that you have to spit out. You can actually enjoy the fruit. Now, the jelly drop grapes are a crossing of a Concord grape and a typical grape. So these jelly drop grapes are completely skinless and seedless. So you will enjoy the flavor of the Concord grape without the thick skin and without the seeds. And they're like the sweetest grape. The Concord grapes are such a unique grape. They're like the sweetest grapes that bricks on a refractometer, but these jelly drops, they brick from a 20 to a 24. So they're absolutely delicious and very different from other grapes, just like the champagne grapes.
Right. We grew up, the grapes here in North Carolina where Rick and I grew up, when we were kids, I don't remember seeing seedless grapes very often in the stores. I think they just had not made it this far east for whatever reason at that time. But maybe we just lived too far up in the hills. We were hillbillies, so maybe that was the problem. But Concord grapes was the grape that came in the summer that you could get in the stores. And man, those were delicious, but you had to squeeze them out of that skin and then spit the seeds out. So it was kind of a pain, but that sounds great. I got to look for those jelly drop. And you're selling those at melissas.com, I assume. You're not?
Yes, but
you're not going to tease us and not give us a way to find them.
No. If you can't find them at your local store, you can go to melissas.com there. But we prefer you find them at the store because it will save you in shipping costs to send them throughout the United States there.
What other flavor variety? There's been so many in the past few years, new flavored grapes that have come out. What other flavors do you have?
The Melissa's signature grapes that we're really known for are the Moscato grapes. Now, we do red Moscatos, green Moscatos, and the black Moscatos. The skins are thin. The texture is it has a really good crunch to them. They are completely seedless. They may look like your typical red, green, and black grapes, but they're a little bit sweeter because our growers, they developed it by crossing the Muscat wine grape with a traditional grape. So what you see is a typical table grape, but what you taste has a little bit more sweetness than your typical grape.
And probably probably a bit more complex flavor profile as well, right?
Because they have a good crunch to it. I love crunchy grapes.
Yeah.
and bursting with sweet flavor. I love sweet fruit, and especially for grapes, in which, if you ever bought too many grapes and you feel like they're going to go to a waste, what I always do is I take the grapes and I put them in the freezer, and you get instant grapesicles, I call them. So you never have to waste your grapes. But the fact of the matter is, most of the time when you buy grapes, you're going to finish them within a week's time. They have a pretty good shelf life, and those you wouldn't want to keep on the counter too long. You would want to keep them in the refrigerator for the shortest time that you can. I like my grapes cold, but I also like the texture as well. And grapes are always sweet. You really don't have to worry about them. But most key is what most Americans want is a seedless variety, and they're definitely seedless. But one of the most famous ones that Melissa's have been known for just over a decade now, and the season just started back up, and they are called the cotton candy grapes.
Okay.
These are the ones that literally taste like cotton candy. It was a cross hybridization that happened, and they have a lot of research, and obviously California has a really great grape program for all of the United States. And what happened was the grower was crossing all these different varieties of sweet grapes, and
so he wasn't crossing a grape with a cotton candy cone.
No, it was actually an accident that occurred for them to be called, because when people started eating them, one of the kids' grandchild said, "These taste like cotton candy," and hence that's how the name came about for the cotton candy grapes. They're a little bit more expensive, but sure, not only kids like them, but I think when you, as an adult, you appreciate and brought back to feelings of Coney Island and the circus when you were a kid. So.
And a little more healthy way to get that flavor. And they do taste like cotton candy. It is unbelievable. I've had them a few times. It's right on. But that's great. Okay, we better stop before we overdose on some of these crazy sweet, crazy flavored grapes. And we need to let you go, Robert. We want you to get back to finding us more exotic, crazy flavored fruits and vegetables out there and getting them to us so we can enjoy them. Thank you again for joining us, coming back for the second straight week in a row. And I hope you'll come back again very soon.
I surely will. And thank you, Produce Buzz, for having me on, and the rest of your gang there. All the best.
Thanks, Robert. Goodbye. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Produce Buzzers podcast, brought to you by Produce Buzz, the gathering place for lovers of fresh fruits and veggies. We hope you were entertained a bit and educated a lot about fresh produce. Be sure to join us next time, and please tell your friends to do so as well. Like, share, and comment on our Produce Buzz Facebook page, and check out our website at www.producebuzz.com. There you will find articles about fresh fruits and veggies, how to select, store, and prepare them, as well as lots of interesting facts about all the wonderful bounty the earth provides for us. Until next time, be fruitful, and don't forget to veg out.